In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this overhead camera so you can see an example of what we'll be doing today. So this is an example of a one-color tie-dye. Hi Cindy, thanks for coming. How are you doing? Is it cold there? So let me know what the audio sounds like, Cindy. Last week I got some feedback that it sounded a little tinny. It's chilly. Okay. What, 50? It was 42 when I walked to my studio this morning. So that's more than chilly. So this is what we're going to be working on today. So this is a traditional tie-dye, and I basically tied balls, and I tied some areas with rubber band. Reverb, echoing. Okay, let me change the I'm going to change the audio device. Hi Pat, good to see you. Okay, so I changed the audio device. Okay guys, I lost internet for a little bit there. Don't know why. We lost it throughout the house, so it wasn't just me. Looks like I'm back. I'm hooked up to my hotspot, and hopefully that will work for a little bit. Sorry about that. Not much I can do when the internet service goes down. So let me know if this mic is a little better than it was before. I'm going to wait a minute and see about that. I'm not really happy with the internet service we have here, but we don't really have much of a choice, so it's the only one available on the installation. So, whether it works or not, I'm stuck with it. So let me know in the chat if you're still here, and if you can hear me, and if the sound is good. So right now I'm using my hotspot. I still don't have my main internet service back. Hi Cindy and Pat, is that you back online with me? This isn't the fun part, okay? When I lose the internet, it's not fun. But I'm trying to be patient and stick around and not give up on this. So let me know if you're here. Let me know if you hear me. And let me know how it sounds, please. Okay, so since the sound is good, then let's get the show on the road. So this is what we're going to be doing today. This is one of the pieces. So this is a single color tie-dye. And I just used, I think I used a large ball for the middle here. And I think I used rubber bands. This is a piece I did several years ago. And the color is not indigo, but it's a mixture of different blues that I mixed together, trying to create an indigo-ish color. So that's one of the first pieces we're going to be doing. And I already have that piece already tied up. And so I've got a larger ball in the middle and some smaller marbles and just some rubber bands. So I'm going to put this in the soaking solution, which is the soda ash. And if you weren't here for the last week's stream, the soda ash is what makes the dye permanent on the fabric. And I have a soda ash solution already mixed up, and it needs to soak about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, thanks, Cindy. So I'm going to put this in the soda ash and let it start to soak while we're working on other things. So this is the first one we're going to do, a single color. And then next we're going to do a multicolor, a two-color design, okay? And this piece is, I took and starting at the corner up here, and just put a series of rubber bands in a concentric circle pattern. And then I applied, I don't remember if I applied both dyes at the same time, if I did one, washed it out, and did another. So either one is a good option, it's just a matter of which way you want to go. So this is a piece that I've done very similar to that, only I started in the center instead of a corner when I started putting the rubber bands on. So I'm going to go ahead and put that piece in the soda ash, and then I'm going to tie up a third piece. The falls. Okay, looks like my internet came back, so I'm no longer on my hotspot. If there's any problems with everything, let me know in the chat, okay? So I have some balls, and these are just little plastic balls. One of them looks like golf balls, and the other one's just a soft plastic. And I get these items at the $1.25 tree. And I also have a bag of marbles that I also get at the $1.25 tree. So that's what I use for tying up. And if I'm working with larger pieces of fabric, I do have some larger balls. Of course, you want to wear your mask when you're mixing the dye powders, so that's here. But I already have my dyes already mixed up. So I'm going to be working with 2 yellows. This is tangerine, and this is golden yellow. And I'm going to use the turquoise from last week. Now I usually mix my dyes up in a large container with a large mouth. It's easier to mix it up with a large mouth and then dispense it into the squeeze bottles. So that's how I mix my dyes. Now I'm not going to go into mixing the dyes much today because we did that last week. And if you didn't see if you weren't here for the last live stream last week, you can find it on my channel. If you go to my channel and just click on the live tab, you'll be able to see the live stream. So what I'm going to do is take this third piece of fabric. Hold on a minute. Let me get this stuff out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and tie this up. And I'm going to do it like with this blue and yellow piece here. I'm going to start from the corner. And let me know if you have any questions. Put the questions in the chat. Hopefully you won't have any more problems this morning. So I'm just going to take the fabric and pull it into some gentle folds, and then take my rubber bands and start tying from the corner. So sometimes I'll use 2 rubber bands at a time if I want a thicker resist areas. So wherever the rubber band is, it won't take the dye. So that will be some white areas. I'm just going to tie this up. And I'll just put these in concentric circles. And this is, if you were here last week, this is that unknown cotton that I said that I purchased as a drapery fabric. And it dyed the best, in my opinion, out of all the fabrics. Well, I don't necessarily say the best. The color was more intense. And it was actually much better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't think this fabric was going to dye that well. So it really surprised me. So I'll just keep adding some rubber bands. Spacing them, you know, evenly, unevenly. It really depends on the look you want. Okay, so no questions so far? Alright, that's good. Hopefully that means I'm explaining things well enough for you. So I'll add a couple more of these rubber bands on here. Okay. So what are you guys up to? Pat, what are you up to today besides being here? What are you going to be doing this afternoon? And how about you, Cindy? What are you guys going to do today? Besides try to stay warm. Since I've been up since about 4:30, I think I'm going to take a nap after this. Okay. Okay, I think I'll do one more after this. And then I'll put this in the soda ash so it can soak for a few minutes. Last one. I think I'm going to double this little tail over. Okay, so that piece is ready to go in the soda ash. I'll just put that in. Let that soak while we dye the other two pieces. So I'm going to move all of this stuff out of the way. Bring over my trays. Now, even though I have my table covered with plastic, I like to put my pieces in trays when I'm dyeing them. And these I also get from the $1.25 tree. So, everything's still good, sound good and everything. So I'm going to put my gloves on. The dyes aren't harmful, but they will stain your hands, so I do recommend using gloves. So I'm going to pull out the first piece that I put in the soda ash, which is the one tied with the balls. I'm going to squeeze out the excess soda ash and put this on my tray. So I think I'm just going to do this one in a one color, and I'm going to use the turquoise. So the dye's been sitting in this since last week, so give it a good shake. And I'm just going to pour the dye over it. I'm going to try to leave some white space. This dye will absorb and it will spread. Lift these balls up out of the way. Make sure to get some on the tips. And when I put these balls in, I put them in from both sides. So I want to lift up the back side and make sure I get some dye on those areas. I think that's all I'm going to put on here because I don't want to oversaturate it. And I'm just going to set this one aside and See, I got dye all over the table. So after I put the dye on all of these pieces, they need to sit for at least 4 hours. But I'm going to let them sit overnight. And as I said last week, the blue colors are the slowest ones to attach themselves to the fabric. So it really is a good idea to let the blues sit overnight. So now I'm going to take out the second piece, and I'm going to do this one in 2 colors. I'm going to do it all at once. As I said, you can do one color, wash it out, and do the other color, but I'm going to do all of these at once. So I'm going to do a turquoise, stick with the turquoise here, and then I'll use one of my yellows. I have 2 yellows. One is called tangerine, and one is called golden yellow. And so I'll be mixing the turquoise with those yellows. I'm just going to apply it here. I think what I'm going to do is apply the turquoise all to one side of the fabric. Then I'm going to turn it over and apply the yellow to the other side. We'll see what we get here. So this is the tangerine yellow, and both of these yellows are warm colors, and turquoise is a cool color. So when you mix warm and cool colors together, you have a tendency to get, this doesn't have a hole in the top, so I need to cut a hole in the top. You have a tendency to get a muddy color when they mix. So this is going to be a little muddy green. And you can see the colors already start to mix. So that's going to be interesting to see how, since I'm putting one color on one side and the other color on the other side, how this comes out. I don't think I've done that before. Now hopefully I'll still have a lot of white. We'll see. Okay, so that's number 2. Now let's look at the final one that I tied up. And this is the same pattern as number 2, except for number 2 was started from the center. I started tying from the center. And this third one, I started tying from a corner. Wipe some of this up. So for this one, I'm still going to use the turquoise, but what I'm going to do is just apply it to every other open area. So I'm going to skip an area in between. Oops, I forgot to skip one. So I will take that one, and the one that I forgot to skip, I will put blue on one side and yellow on the other side. Okay, so guys, let me know if you have any questions. Now this is the golden yellow. It's a very warm, earthy yellow. So I'm going to put this one over here in the middle. And the tangerine has a greenish cast to the yellow. So I'm going to you can see the colors are mixing, and I really don't care about that because that's the purpose of kind of using 2 colors. It's going to be impossible to keep the colors away from each other. Okay, so I don't know if you can see the difference in the yellows. This golden yellow, it goes on looking kind of orange. Let's see here. But the tangerine yellow. So if you see that, the golden yellow goes on looking kind of an orange, but it does come out yellow. And the tangerine is more yellow color going on, and it has a greenish cast to it once it dries. Okay, so that's really it. The hardest part, or the most time-consuming part of all of this, is tying everything up. So that's why I wanted to do that, most of that off camera. But I'm going to put the lids on these, put them in my laundry room overnight and let them dry, or let them batch or cure. And then during tomorrow's session, we will rinse them out. And if I can find the samples, all of my samples, I looked for them all weekend, could not find my samples because I had some other samples that I wanted to show you. So we'll see if I can find those. But for now, that's pretty much it for this morning. So it was really a quick session. If you have any questions, let me know, please. And that's it for today. Any questions on anything, or anything that we covered last week that you might have had questions about? So tomorrow we're going to rinse these out and we'll see how they look. And these are all the same fabrics. I didn't do different fabrics this time like I did last week. So these are all the same fabrics. You got questions in the chat? Okay, I'm not seeing them. Hold on. Let me do something here. Why am I not seeing the questions? Okay, I see them now. Cindy, on the size of it, so Cindy asked me, do I always use thicker rubber bands? I kind of choose the size of the rubber band based on the size of the fabric. So these are 12 by 12 inch pieces of fabric. I didn't want to use my thicker rubber bands, but I used 2 rubber bands together to make sure I got the rubber bands tight enough. Does that make sense? But normally I'll just size the rubber band to the size of the fabric. So larger pieces of fabric, I'll use thicker rubber bands, and smaller pieces of fabric, I'll use thinner rubber bands. So tell me more about this class, Cindy. What platform is that on? Is that on Fiber Arts Take 2? And Pat, the soda ash is good for as long as you don't get it contaminated with anything. Sometimes I will end up putting my hands back in the soda ash and have dye on my fingers. And then the soda ash will become contaminated with dye, and then I'll change it out. And you don't have to store it in the refrigerator. You just need to keep it covered. So you don't want like any dead bugs or anything like that falling into your soda ash. But it lasts pretty much forever. It doesn't go sour on you. So anything else? So Cindy, tell me more about that class. Who is it? I know you said Lorraine Glessner. I've not heard of her. You're welcome, Pat. Can you let Pat asked, can you let the fabric batch too long? No. I have let the fabric batch to the point where it dries out. The fabric itself dries. The only thing you want to be careful with is silk. Silk, you can use soda ash on the silk, but it's not a good idea to leave it in it too long. So I wouldn't let silk batch for a very long time. But I've had fabrics where I didn't get back to them for weeks, and it was no problem. The soda ash really isn't harmful to the fabric for the most part, because soda ash, which is sodium carbonate, it's an active ingredient in a lot of powdered laundry soaps. So it's not harmful to the fabric. It's just not a good idea to let soak. And you don't want to use soda ash on wool. It makes the wool brittle. So if you're dyeing, you can use these dyes on wool, but you want to use like an acid as an fixative, like either vinegar or citric acid instead of soda ash. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks, Cindy. I'll have to look her up. Yeah, not on wool. That makes the wool very brittle. So use vinegar or citric acid on wool. But it can be used, the soda ash can be used on any other natural fiber. And you can use the vinegar and citric acid on silk also instead of soda ash if you wish. I don't generally work with wool, although now that I'm up here in the cold, who knows. But down in Florida, I didn't work with wool. But so I just used soda ash on everything. Yeah, I may have to switch over to wool up here. I gave away my wool socks before I left. I don't know what I was thinking, but obviously I wasn't thinking it got that cold up here. So. Tomorrow, so Pat asked, what will you see tomorrow? Tomorrow we're going to wash these out. And rinse them out and see what they look like. And if I could find my other samples, I do have some other samples of tie-dye pieces. I just was not able to find them. Apparently, I still have things that I have not unpacked and put away, but I don't know where they're at, so. It was full of holes. What kind of fabric was that, Cindy? Wow, I can't believe it was still wet. Did she have it in a plastic bag or something? I've never batched a piece for a year, so I guess maybe there is a limit on how long you can leave it. Now, I did take... once I was trying to dye some cheesecloth, and I put it in the soda ash and left it for a few days, maybe a week, and it was pretty much, it just disintegrated when I pulled it out. So, yeah. Well, that probably wasn't a good idea. Cheesecloth doesn't have much structure to it anyway, so. Okay, thank you for coming, Pat. I appreciate that. And thank you, Cindy. If you don't have any more questions, I guess I'll go ahead and wrap this up. And the replay will be on the channel. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay.